Greetings, everyone. Welcome to TFT Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. And this is me, Oberon, with Goth Tarot, my weekly look collectively into the somber, shadowy side of life, emotional excess or misdirection, perhaps, grief, oversensitivity. These are kind of the hallmarks of Gothic personalities or emo personalities, people who see things a little differently and maybe are moved in that darker direction. So we do this by doing a multi-level card reading, combining several decks. I'll kind of go through it as we go along, but we start off with basically the environmental aspect, the focus for this collective reading, and I call that the dark design. And for that, I use the Murder of the Crows Tarot. And I pulled the reversed Nine of Wands. This is our dark design for the week. The idea that maybe we are willing to move away from something that we realize we cannot achieve. A victory we cannot achieve, perhaps. We're tired of being wary, of feeling like we've been giving it our all and we just can't seem to make the difference that we want to make. We want to pursue something different. Now, how did we come to this? Or have we been actually going through this process all along? So for that, I want to use the modifiers in the Murder Crows deck. The 4 additional cards, 2 are used for timing and 2 are used for whether the matter is more internally or externally felt. So I'm just going to randomly try to do that. They're double-sided cards, so it's one side or the other. You'll just have to trust me. But I have pulled the Crow of Dawn, which means, and I think it's logical, this is the beginning of the matter. This is now starting this idea that we need to reevaluate and maybe pursue different directions or give up on that sense of an obligement to something that's going to be hard pressed to win. Our other modifier tells us if this matter affects us more from the internal or the external. So let's take a look at that. Well, once again, just trust me to pull the right card. And I pulled the Crow Mother. So this is more of a psychological, emotional, internal kind of thing that's going on with this feeling, that the idea that we now realize we have to move into a different direction, give up holding our own for something that maybe will always be perilous and hard fought. And we feel this inside, I think, because we know there are better ways to use our energy or to use this concern we have over this idea here. Still, yet, there may remain something that I would call the dark shadows, the idea that remains haunting us in this equation, in this idea of what we're seeing there in our focus. So for that, I'm going to pull a card from the Goth Tarot to see what the dark shadows, the thing that will remain, whether or not it's good or bad, a presence that more or less is haunting the matter. And I have pulled the Queen of Pentacles upright. This is the dark shadow that haunts these proceedings. The idea being that what remains if we decide to move away, as the dark design suggests, is those qualities of creativity, nourishment, artistic creation, flourishment. We will always remain able to be a creative person or a productive person, somebody who's capable of many talents or many ways of moving projects or processes along. And so even if we do have to go this way, whatever that project, that thing was that maybe we're finding we don't want to defend or advocate for anymore, aspects of those qualities that were necessary, that are embodied in this queen, will remain with us. And so it is maybe possible that someday we would be able to reapproach the situation. Now we are moving to the Night Sun Tarot, which was from the original iteration of Goth Tarot. And we're asking two questions here. The first one is the dark truth, the reality that perhaps now we can understand much better, having seen the way the cards are laying out so far. And the dark truth is a reality that maybe we don't want to accept, but we should. It's probably different from the dark shadows, the Queen of Pentacles, the thing that haunts us. It may represent just a quality of what now is that we just have to consider as our next turning point or our next point of re-entry into process. So let's take a look at what that is. What is our dark truth? And it's the Nine of Swords. So it's another nine. We had the Nine of Wands in the beginning. But now our dark truth is the Nine of Swords. And it's upright. And the Nine of Swords says we worry too much about this. That this being, although internally felt as evidenced by the Crow Mother, really has so many moving parts that are external, other people, other situations that are part of that whole, what we were doing there, trying to hold on and defend something. It's fitting that it's the other nine because we're overly concerned with something that maybe is going to regulate on its own. We don't really need to play nursemaid to that. We probably need to let these things go because they're obsessing too much of our concern. Maybe they're not going to allow us to use what still remains, our qualities of production. They could only interfere with that, in my opinion. But that's what we need to consider, the reality that this is going to go on without us. Whatever this is that we feel we should probably abandon, or that we should. And we should be okay with that. We should try to just let it go. So will that show up in the next part of the reading from the Night Sun Tarot, the Dark Sacrifice? The sorrows or feelings that we bear, the ideas of what it is that we could possibly give up in order to have a better effect. And it's the upright Page of Swords. So as a dark sacrifice, we are probably going to lose, or we should lose, the feeling that we have to enact in a certain way, the way of being diplomatic about maybe the situation or being graceful about it. Maybe we are going to realize that it's just not worth our energies trying to stick there, and that what we really need to do in order to process this moving on is consider not being diplomatic, but maybe being honest, telling what our feelings are and getting it out of the way truly. And for that, I would actually say that whatever that situation is, that may mean that you should consider talking to a professional counselor or somebody who really can help you with this rather than just venting on people or friends. All right. So obviously this is some pretty heavy stuff, and we actually wonder then what could possibly suck more. But that's what the next card is, the Dark Spiral. The thing that's going to emotionally drain us, keep us from feeling useful or able to move ahead. We're just kind of locked into a sense of maybe being victimized or martyred. Not always, but it could be that. What is sucking right now with this knowledge? The idea that we're more or less being really prodded, I think, into looking at that thing we're trying to stand up for and saying, no, it is time to let it go. That road you've been on, it leads to nowhere, as a popular meme in a cartoon of the last 10 years would like to say. What is the Dark Spiral? It's strength reversed. What really sucks is that we only feel we could try to enact by being more brutal rather than being diplomatic, or losing the sense of diplomacy and grace may drive us into this area where we're just going to be trying to be more forceful, not to consider using a greater power of compassion or understanding. I guess we're really revolting in the idea of this, and it probably will lead us nowhere. I sort of want to leave it there, but I sort of don't, because I got one more card to pull. But strength reversed as your dark spiral says you're going to give in to a lot of negative emotions that won't help you in this. And you need to kind of reverse that spiral by thinking more about how you can apply compassion, understanding, and love to situations. So it really does suck if you're stuck there. You have to figure out how to free yourself from this obsession or this thing that's pulling you in that direction and draining you. All right then, so as grim as all this is, our last card from the Crow Magick Tarot, which was also in the first version of Goth Tarot, will tell us what is our gift? What is our dark gift? How can our dark gift help us through this week or through this time? The dark gift, what can help us? What are our insights or powers, abilities, things like that? It's the reverse Six of Coins. I think this is saying that this is a time for us to consider holding on to what we have and not necessarily being as generous with certain things that maybe are, and it's kind of funny because it says dark gift and it says gifts, bounty, but it's reversed. I'm going to put her right there with that because they're kind of interesting. The Six of Coins reversed in the overall context is saying that your ability or your insight is to understand what it's like from your own perspective as well as others when the idea of being able to give or being generous is seriously challenged either by your own status or by your feelings about who it is you're trying to be generous with. And so you have to consider, I think, where you're applying your energies. And that's what I said right at the beginning. So it really does take us back to the beginning, that maybe it is time to put our energies somewhere else. And that's what I have for Goth Tarot this week. So I really appreciate you watching, and please feel free to like, subscribe if you haven't, share, make some comments. I'm having a lot of fun with this new reading, so I'd like to hear some feedback. So that's it, and I want you to take care.